So something else we learned from Tai Chi that can be applied to daily life. Apart from posture, right, it's also how to maintain the relationship with whatever objects or person that you're trying to move, and maintain it in the correct way. One of the things that tends to happen is that people lean forward in order to move something. The problem is when the posture that you keep changes, if you lean forward, you're cutting yourself off from the power of the legs. So one of the principles that we see is this idea of tucking in the waist. It feels odd and weird at the beginning, but it's actually crucial, right? So the idea is that the hips just slightly tuck in. What you're really doing is you're dropping the tailbone. So instead of the tailbone pointing out, the tailbone drops, points straight down, right? So it's not a clenching of the buttocks. It's simply letting the hips drop down. And then from there, instead of, see, notice that if I lean forward like this, my tailbone's over here. I want to be here. So immediately that means I can't actually lean forward as much. Instead, what I have to do is lengthen my step so that I can maintain that drop posture, and then I can pick something up, right? They keep saying don't lift with your back, lift with your knees. Roughly essentially the same idea. For most people though, lifting with the knee is not always possible because we tend to have short Achilles tendon, right? So if your Achilles tendon is short, you can't really squat all the way down because so you're stuck here and you can't go further. The thing is, it's not really about lifting with your knees. It's about lifting with your lower back engaged, right? So again, if I'm here, there's no power connection between my legs and my back. If I'm here, now what the back is doing is it holding itself up and I'm using my leg muscles to lift, right? So we want that tuck in of the hips. What that means is, apart from proper posture, one of the things that you want to do and constantly work on is the lengthening of Achilles tendon, right? So having the Achilles tendon be nice and long and stretched. So that means that you want to do a lot of exercises, right? Where you're bending and you're squatting, essentially. This is something that you can do while holding on to a table, a counter, a heavy chair so that you don't fall. But you want to make sure that you maintain this flexibility, right? So that eventually you're down here. If you don't do that, it means then that your range of motion with the legs, whether forward or down, is diminished. And then the only option you have is to bend from the waist, which means that now you don't have strength, you're not connected, you're not using your legs, so everything goes kaput. So these exercises, hold on to something, just squat down, make sure that the Achilles tendon is being stretched and lengthened. Those are crucial to maintain mobility throughout and as you age. Same with hip mobility. You want to be able to step forward so that the range of your stepping remains fairly high, because one of the issues that we run into is that if you fall forward, for example, if you trip, if you don't have the mobility to place your foot in front of you and to fall on it and hold you up, you're going to fall, right? And so what happens is that we tend to lose the mobility in the hips, and then we trip, and then we're physically incapable of catching ourselves. So again, you need that mobility. You need the ability to take a big step, do lunges essentially. So that's another exercise that you want to just have. And this is something that can be done quickly and easily when you're in the kitchen. Make sure you have your hand on something so that you're not going to fall. You're holding onto a kitchen counter, table, chair, couch, and simply do lunges. Make sure that you're able to do something like this. Doesn't have to be a lot, right? But you're lengthening, stretching, and you're just doing this just for a few minutes every day, just so that you have that range of motion in the hips, and then a few of these, right, every day, just so that you know you have the range of motion in the Achilles tendon. At the same time, what it does is it strengthens your leg muscles, which is the other thing that you need in order to be mobile and to be able to move and interact with the world around you. If you don't have any of that, there's nothing you can do. basically, because the legs are your primary engine to move through the world. So you have to maintain it, right? And so Achilles tendon, hip movement, and strength of the legs are the three things that you really need in order to be mobile. If you're mobile, and you're up, now you can move throughout the world. Now you can interact, you can pick things up without having to compromise yourself by bending over, because this is the only thing that now still moves in your body. You want to be able to come here. You want to be able to lift from here, right? So everything is up and vertical. So going back to this idea of the posture and the verticality, the opening of the hips, lengthening of the Achilles tendon, strengthening of the legs is so that you can maintain the verticality of the upper body. So you can do things without leaning forward in order to do them. You're always here, right? So that's the important part. So we want to be vertical, and we want to have mobility in the legs, which means opening up the hips, lengthening the Achilles tendon, strengthening the legs, and that tuck of the hips, right? So that the legs and the lower back are connected, and you're using the strength of the legs, not the back muscles whenever you're picking something up, right? So that's the important part.